Hello everyone, as always your viewership's greatly appreciated here on the Archangel 15. I'm going to jump right into my theory of everything presentation I've talked about much in the past. I've decided with all the crazy events going on in the world right now that there's, like somebody once told me, no time like the present. I decided to cut it, my idea of incorporating a lot of production software and animation and just keep it right to the point. I think that this will ultimately add to the content that I'm able to convey to you. I don't want to go extra. I want to just focus on the scientific nature of everything here. I'm going to cover a lot of ground, and you may want to take notes if you don't have prior knowledge of some of the information that I'm telling you about. I mentioned a famous quote by David Icke. We all have some of the answers. None of us have all the answers. I'm not trying to profess that I know everything here. I'm just an average person with a love of science and somebody that has never stopped asking questions. I want to do a disclaimer that my intent here is not to encroach on religious beliefs, educational foundation, NASA, government, Big Five oil, what have you. Ultimately, this is going to step on their toes. I imagine that there's a lot of other people that have attempted similar productions and either been killed, silenced, or threatened. Also, there's this notion of an Atlantean moment when people breach the intended knowledge of what God wants them to understand about His detailed inner workings. And like I said, I'm not trying to breach, what God, wants us to know. I believe that God gives us our knowledge and our logic and brains for a reason. I really hope that whoever suppresses my channel, albeit Google, the government, the Catholic Church, they either burn in hell or come back reincarnated as an insignificant being. This production is my own original work. Much of the content has been obtained for many years in my eternal conquest of truth and knowledge, and countless hours of study and just never stopping asking questions. It could drive me crazy in the end. I'm going to try to not read verbatim with my notes here, but I want to stay focused and to the point and try to keep this as short as possible. I really don't know where this is going to end. I want to acknowledge the many brilliant minds. As I go through this, I'll go through each one in each separate presentation. There could be 20, 30, 40 presentations when it's all said and done. This is just the first one. But there's many people that have contributed a great deal of knowledge to the scientific community. Some examples of this are Dr. Scott, author of The Electric Sky, pioneer of the electric universe theory. Christian Huygens, famous Dutch physicist who his treatise on light basically laid the foundation for wave theory. Andrija Puharich, more modern figure, he's since passed. He has some really good stuff on YouTube. I highly recommend check him out. James Clerk Maxwell, probably the most profound of all. Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein could not have done what they did without the foundation of his treatise on magnetism. I'll get into that a little bit later. John Forbes Nash, the guy from A Beautiful Mind. Eileen Day McCusick, other crack physicists and people that I probably won't mention that have done their own independent research and been deeply suppressed or silenced. My favorite book, The Body Electric by Dr. Becker and Gary Selden, and a true pioneer in the study of near-death experiences, Dr. Bruce Grayson. On the other hand, a lot of this information I have basically obtained from divine intuition and my own sources of what I like to refer to as alchemy, which is like I take a dictionary and just flip to random pages and like kind of make a matrix of the random words that come up and piece them together. And I'll show you later on. It's kind of eerily, it's pretty creepy actually. It's almost like, I guess you could like say it's like black magic or something like that. People were killed in the past for doing this. The near-death phenomenon that I've incurred, I believe, also has brought this about as well. I have had more near-death experiences than I can count on both my hands. First being an automobile accident when I was 6 years old, and my head went through the windshield of a car when I was hit head-on by a tractor trailer. I had an outer body experience looking down. very interesting there. I had mentioned in the past about my Ashkenazi, Russian, Ukrainian, Jewish lineage, ABRH negative, I believe to be from the bloodline of David. I'll get into that and the suppression of that soon here. But when you pass through death's doorway, it profoundly changes your perception of time and just life altogether. It gives you a totally different perspective and outlook. I really, really recommend doing research with the International Association of Near-Death Studies. In 2015, I watched Dr. Bruce Grayson's presentation, Consciousness Independent of the Brain. I highly recommend you watch that at some time if you haven't. It brought tears to my eyes as it explained a lot of the answers to the reasons I felt the way I have after having all these near-death experiences. Kind of brought some closure to my life. Much of this stuff I'm going to cover is going to negate the standard norms of the scientific community. Like I said, like NASA, they step right on their toes. Also, $100,000 a year universities as well. Perfect example of this is much of Einstein's work. Fellow AB negative Ashkenazi Jewish descendant like myself. Much of his work is based on the notion of a consistent speed of light. John Forbes Nash, the guy from A Beautiful Mind, was approximately 2 weeks away from publishing a report on the faster than speed of light theory when he was killed along with his wife. In the movie, they made him look like he was a nutcase, but I really believe, like myself and others, that they were targeted and poisoned or attempted to be silenced by the Roman Catholic Church or the CIA. If you've ever watched the movie The Da Vinci Code, you will see that basically the Roman Catholic Church has been on this pernicious effort to silence people who are from this AB negative bloodline of Jesus Christ and probably descendants of Jesus Christ. And there's like a verse in the Bible, I forget what it is, it's in Mark, and it says that Jesus rose and he cast 7 serpents or 7 devils on Mary Magdalene. He rose early in the morning and cast 7 devils. In the Vatican, that verse is completely removed. It goes right from Mark 9 to 11 or something like that, whatever it is. You'll have to look it up. Basically, there's a lot of evil Italian CIA pedophiles from the Roman Catholic Church. You can go down to DC and see who I'm talking about. They have bald head. They like to steal little kids, and they're pedophiles. And that's what they do. And you can see their kids walking around with little Ukrainian clone girls, and it's really sad. They stole these kids, basically. They're per the talk about John Forbes Nash. There was a Carrington event in 1859 where Richard Carrington saw sunspots on the sun approximately 2 or 3 days before the event happened. Normally, it takes several days for the 93 million mile travel, which is I guess based on the normal speed of light. This time, it only took 17.6 hours to occur. There was people that died. It completely fried the electrical infrastructure. And again, I thank Dr. Bruce Grayson, the guy Chester Carlson. He invented xerography, one of the first billionaires, Xerox. He said he wanted to die a broke man. He donated much of his fortune to the University of Virginia, and they would, without true philanthropists like him, a lot of this would have never ever have been realized and conceptualized in the scientific community. I'm very, very blessed to bring this information to you today. Like I said, I had many, many near-death experiences. I promise you I should not be here. This is going to be a long, drawn-out, chain-together series. And like I said, I have, countless hours or days, if not days ahead of me. So please bear with me. I'll try to, bring it to you as fast as I can. I have other projects that I work on continually as well. I'm going to try to present all of this in layman's terms so that the average person with a standard level of knowledge and education can understand, what's going on without having a degree in physics. I'm nobody special. I'm just a simple hillbilly from Pennsylvania. I have a degree in business and criminal justice, and I have a major love of science, and I'm lucky to still be alive and presenting this to you here today. I have been very deeply suppressed, and it's very sad what they've done to my family and I. They've stolen several children from my mother, and they've not allowed me to pursue my ideas and passions to the extent that I would like to. They've kept me very financially suppressed and done a very, very other unimaginable things to me. I have a quote. This is my own quote. Imagination will never exist in a world where stagnation will always persist. I want to stop and dedicate this solely, basically, to my mother. I owe her my life and so much more. She is, like I said, from the AB negative lineage. Both her parents had this rare blood type. It's like almost like an alien race. You could stop and talk to her about anything, and she could tell you the answer to any question that you would ask her, just through like enlightenment or magnetism, who knows, whatever you want to call it. Her and I together are like Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla. I really believe without her, none of this, I would have never have gotten to this level of understanding of things to bring this to you. I'm going to show you a picture. This is her and I in Sergia Posad, Russia, in 2017. It's one of the gateways to the Earth chakra points. There's like, if you search Earth chakras, you'll see Sergia Posad on there. There's other notable points like Israel, Mount Fuji, Japan, and the pyramids of Giza. Earth expels certain energy. Nikola Tesla, talked about this in a lot of his work. The pyramids at Giza, actually, somebody once told me that it's not just like a tetrahedron up, like on the inverted. There's also an inverse tetrahedron, basically it's like a diamond, and it channels energy. And I'm going to get into this later on. But the stone that they used to cap it with was limestone. It gets into this understanding of electricity, which there's electricity stored in like everything, and it can be harnessed and harvested. There's kind of gets into sacred geometry. I'm going to have to do a whole separate series on that. Our bodies are 70% water. Our earth is 70% water. And, like if you took, our anatomy and our constellations in the stars, and like measure the distance between certain points, you'd find it like the same proportionality exists all through the universe and the cosmos based on, 1.61 and phi. I'm sure you probably know that information. Like, if you've never heard of phi, search it. There's, it's like this computer program in nature that shows up in basically all living things. I want to basically refine this information to a point where I cut out a lot of the unnecessary stuff. Like I said, I could take any one of these topics and elaborate on them literally for hours, if not days. So I'm going to try to move fast. Like I know, like some of this stuff you may say, well, why didn't you talk more about this or whatever? It's because I'm trying to put it all together. I honestly, I'm going to get into deeper topics, like, why are we here? What is our biological conquest or mission? From a religious standpoint, I will tell you that, I do consider myself to be a Christian, but my view is much bigger in the gamut of time. When you understand, the angels in the cosmos and God existed trillions of infinite years beyond, that of humans. And, there's basically three things that prove the existence of God, in my opinion. One is infinite space, which, if you bear with me, I will actually prove, the theory, like what I believe to be the understanding of infinite space. I'll get into that eventually. Also, the articulate design of nature, just how everything in biology works, so seamless and beautifully, is obviously the workings of a mind much more brilliant than any one of us could ever organize. And the periodic table of elements, when you understand the esoteric nature, behind how just everything fits perfectly together, it says it all. There's a deeper connection between science and religion, but like I said, people choose to keep it deeply suppressed and to keep everybody divided and fighting in borders and wars. They find out to be much more profitable and conducive to the elite strategy of dividing and conquering everybody. It is very obvious that governments want to keep you in a box and to destroy the notion of faith or the quantum. And not to point fingers, but I'll make it very clear that, like I said, I have a huge disdain for the Roman Catholic Church and modern Christianity, for that matter. You know, the ABRH negative bloodline, there's extremely little information on it. I mean, you could search anything that you want to know or see basically on Google, and stuff pertaining to that is extremely scarce. So let's begin. Okay. I do actually want to, in addition to dedicating this to my mother, I do also want to thank the truly good teachers out there, and the purveyors of knowledge and wisdom. I was fortunate in my 11th grade year, approximately 20 years ago, to have an amazing English teacher. His name was Dr. Mundy. He was also on the college board. He built up a culmination of the whole entire year of like what life boils down to, into this essence of life as a passion and love. And I will start here. You know, the secret to everything. You know, this is how I'm going to end someday when I do get to the end of this. Basically, the secret is love and energy. You know, what it's all about. You know, I'm not going to make you wait till the end. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat. In due time, you know, like I said, I'll get into other things about the Matrix and other things like, you know, free will versus predestination, and, you know, what, like I said, like, you know, the afterlife, and, you know, other great quandaries that, you know, people just continually ask questions about. You know, the government, you know, tries to steal our free will through drugs, through alcohol, through peer influences, sex, music, greed, and many other external influences. They eventually want to completely enslave everyone and insert clones in place of human beings, subsequently making us servile robots, taking away our free will, and it'll be like humans, or like animals that are born into captivity in a zoo. They don't even know that they're captive. It's or even what real freedom is. You know, while on the concept of energy, I want to kind of do a bigger corollary to consciousness. Like I said, and why are we here, our existence, and I just try to embrace this as I go along. And, you know, you'll see where I'm getting at. I'm going to drop a bombshell right off the bat. You know, while we're on this topic of energy, you know, there's probably, like I said, people that have been killed for talking about this, but I'm going to say that the law of conservation and energy is straight bullshit. Like, basically, there's right off the bat, you know, we're told in every single classroom that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but transferred from one form to another. Proof of this, like right off the bat, is magnets. Magnets expel an eternal force of energy that, you know, like, is consistent. And you can actually create your own generator, which is basically copper wire and magnets. In the past, I've actually done my own experiments with 2 cell phones. Just having 2 cell phones together, creating a field of current. And there's other things you can do as well. Countless inventions and things that people have tried over the years. Some of them way more complex than it never needed to be. An interesting book, the Free Energy Device Handbook. There's a whole bunch of patents and stuff in there. Some really complex stuff. The Tesla papers. You know, doesn't really excite me too much anymore as it used to. It's like, once you see that it's not that hard and it's like pretty simple, just magnets. You know, it's kind of like upsetting that we still burn oil and gas in 2021 almost. Another proof of this is nuclear reactions. When you understand that, like, basically, you know, like the way nuclear fusion works is like it's like a catalyst that releases energy, which then creates another catalyst and releases more energy, and it expounds on itself. And I really believe that this defies the law of conservation and energy, along with other things. I have not really been proven wrong on this. You know, like, why this lie? You know, it's basically just some evil, greedy people, mainly white people, can, you know, line their pockets and exploit our beautiful, precious earth of its natural, you know, resources. There's also this notion, like I said, I talked about petroelectricity. Piezoelectricity is energy that's stored in bones. Dr. Becker talks about this in The Body Electric. It's the basis of how we get fossil fuels from dinosaur bones. Very interesting topic there. we'll have to do a separate presentation someday on suppressed energy. I promised that in the past, but like I said, it's too much right now. Let me see here. Like I said, the pyramids, very interesting topic there. I'm hoping to travel to China in 2021 and visit the Chinese pyramids. Very, very deep suppression there. Other energy points around the world. Like I can tell you, if you go there, you'll definitely feel a difference. And I really believe that patents are not good. You know, you ask like, if we have knowledge, you know, what is our goal? To line our pockets and to like keep this information in the hands of only a few people to benefit from it, or is it for the betterment of everybody in society? And this is kind of where Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy contradict each other. You know, Tesla had ideas in the 1930s that would embarrass what CIA plant Elon Musk does in his joke of a company, Tesla. I'm not even going to get into him or waste much of my time on it. They put the kibosh on a lot of his ideas because it couldn't be monitored or it couldn't be metered, so they didn't like that. And little side note here, but I really believe that it's unrealistic to think that we could travel to the moon or some of these other planets. I really believe that NASA is like a shell operation, so like a whole bunch of basically people can work. Their kids can have a job without saying that they all the stuff that NASA does. We could do through the United States Air Force. And rather than when they go on their vacations to the UK or they go to Europe, they don't want to tell their friends there that they work for the United States military. That wouldn't be cool. So they have to say, I work for NASA. And the truth is, I'm going to ask you this, just take it for what it's worth. Okay, so on Earth, when we navigate, we use a compass, north, south, east, west, and we can navigate our way around the Earth. When you're in space, they don't have that ability. In the 1960s, I assure you that they did not have the advanced satellites that we have today for beaming various information back and forth between the spacecraft and Earth or whatever. Like I said, the satellites. It's to my knowledge that during the 1960s that the U.S. did not have a command center in any other parts of the world. So as the Earth rotates and Houston's over here and they're out in space, where in Sweden did they have a command center that's beaming this information back? They would have been in the blind. They would have had nothing, absolutely nothing to go on, and it's a complete lie. The moon landing was completely faked. I really don't believe that they have the ability to go as far as they say they do. It's a ploy to steal your hard-earned taxpayer money, and like I said, to give some useless kids a reason to exist and to have a job. And it's an umbrella for other things like cloning programs, to be honest with you. Imagine if you're Russia and the U.S. perpetuates this massive lie. How bitter this would make you and upset. I've been to Russia 3 times. I've talked to many people there, and I can tell you that pretty much none of them believe that it was real. They take it very personal, as do I. And maybe someday the truth will come out. I don't know. I can tell you as well. There's this big understanding that Stanley Kubrick filmed it in Disney Studios. And if you ever just search Stanley Kubrick center point photography and look, and then search the moon landing, and you'll clearly, he had his own style, and I don't care what anybody says, the moon landing was shot in center point style, total Kubrick. It's just total, in my opinion, his work. This is deviating significantly from my lesson on energy. But let's twist the energy a little bit differently here. Instead of thinking about positive and negative current, the pushing and pulling, let's think of good versus evil. Basically, everything in life, as we know it, is diametrically opposed. White versus black, and this is where we get the yin and the yang. It goes even deeper to binary code of computers, ones and zeros. Um, you know, it's this. We have free will to choose. I don't really believe in this whole notion of God and Satan. I believe that, you know, the two forces exist, and that it is our free will to choose which force domineers our lives. Like I said, now the external influences of our crazy world that are totally different from when, like, you know, when Adam was here, or like, you know, even early in biblical times, you know, we don't have the free will that we had. I mean, everything, we're basically slaves before we were even born. And there's this profound work done by Helena Blavatsky, or Helen Blavatsky, a fellow Ukrainian, and her work has profoundly impacted and inspired many people. The elites and cult people are really into this as well. And the central essential theme of her work is free will. You know, like this, you know, right, this choose, you know, our ability to choose, digress information on our own. I'm getting ready to end this soon, but it also, there's a corollary here between the Star of David, and which is symbolizes is above as below, and also the Freemasons emblem. Kind of a funny story. So there's only like 2 books that I've ever actually gotten from the library and had to return, either because I wasn't interested in them or they were just above my head. One of them was James Clerk Maxwell's treatise on magnetism. I did get some amazing information there, like these people that were like able to get like energy out of like spinning thread, silk thread, and other things. But there's this diagram, and in the book that I took a picture of, and I had to incorporate this into this presentation. You can see right here is like the Freemasons emblem. Like that's probably where they got it from. Don't ask me to explain this. I'm not going to take the time to do that right now, but it basically gets into the understanding of magnetism and how, you know, our, I guess the fields of current flow through our earth. And understand as well that, you know, like, I don't believe Ben Franklin invented or discovered electricity. I don't believe he invented or discovered a lot of things, like the printing press that they said he did. Much of this was discovered centuries before, mostly by the Chinese, or possibly in other lost worlds like Atlantis. Like I said, another book that I actually was not able to, or I got so bored of it that I basically took it back, is Morals and Dogma from Albert Pike. And like I'm gonna be honest with you, I really don't like the Freemasons too much. Like, they're just responsible for much evil around the world, from the Trail of Tears to manipulating and controlling every small town in this country. You know, they're directly connected to the oil companies, and it's like allows for greed and suppressions of truth to be manifested through various generations. So some basically greedy silver spoon kids can control everybody else at the expense of our freedoms and our liberty. And understand that light, vibration, sound, frequency, and energy are all one and the same. You know, it gets deep into the spectroscopy and the electromagnetic spectrum. The electric universe theory, pioneered by Dr. Scott, is really good to familiarize yourself with as we move forward. I'm going to end here soon because I'm running out of time for this clip. But like I said, I do not like the Freemasons. But there's this theme in the book where he talks about Albert Pike's, like, basically says in the first chapter, like, do not create fake wars, or like wars, like, or manipulate humanity through creating wars. Like, this will like make your country very rich very fast, but it'll have devastating consequences down the road. Also, this theme, I guess in the lodges, there's black and white tiled floors. Kind of gets into this notion of string theory. I'm going to cover that later on, but I guess the book talks about it. It represents the battle between Satan and Michael the Archangel. That's my channel, Archangel 15. I personally believe that there's nothing that God values more than when we choose the good to domineer our life rather than the evil and our simple desires. I'm going to close with a simple prayer. North, south, east, or west, Lord, take me where you see fit best, not in the direction of my foolish desires, but rather somewhere I can serve a purpose much higher. Take care, folks. Look forward to seeing you in the next segment of this Theory of Everything presentation. Thank you for your time.